What is up, guys? Teddy Cornwell here. Welcome to the Underdog Talk, the world's most underrated podcast, according to Generation Iron. I mean, you guys see him, Muscle Tech Associate Director, man behind the legendary Muscle Insider. You guys just can't see his muscles right now because he's rocking that Muscle Tech sweatshirt. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, there we go. I love it, Scott. I mean, you guys see him, the man behind it all, Mr. Scott Welch. What is up, sir? How you doing today, man?
Good. Thanks for having us on. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I myself was an underdog as well, so the chance to get here on the Underdog podcast is a true honor. Thank you very much for the invite.
Well, thank you for coming on, Scott, because honestly, I'm intrigued with what you're doing. And obviously, I gotta ask, Muscle Insider has kind of taken Storm, become one of the elite bodybuilding sources that we can trust, we can know, we can get our information from. And obviously, you are the owner and founder. So, how did the idea come to be, Scott?
I've been in the bodybuilding fitness industry since I was, 14, and kind of going all the way through that. And over time, obviously, publications have of the past really took a nosedive as things went on, and social media started to take on. Podcasts like this started to take off. So in 2009, an entrepreneur had approached me and said, "Hey, I want to start this magazine. I don't know the first thing about doing it, but I know you do know how to do this." I had been working in the industry at that time for probably 10 years in the supplement industry, which obviously overlaps a lot into the fitness magazine kind of industry, because a lot of the advertising at the time was done in fitness media sources. When I came out of school, it was 1998. I did a degree in nutrition at Ryerson University in Toronto, and I got hired by Muscle Tech, actually. And so I worked there in formulations for the first year, and then got moved into marketing to lead the department there. And I stayed there for another 5.5 years, so 6.5 years in total, and then left that and worked for all their competitors. So to date, I've worked for over 50 supplement companies, both on the branding and formulation side. And so throughout that journey in 2009, an entrepreneur approached me and asked me if I wanted to start a magazine. I said, "Are you kidding me? Print's dead." At the time, it was slipping. And the idea here was to be able to have a media source that was unbiased. And that was the sort of insider name to it. And it was just try to take advantage of the transparency that consumers started to want to have using digital. We started, obviously, Facebook group at the time was the sort of fans pages where you'd start, and Instagram and Twitter. And then over time, we ended up launching at the 2010 Arnold Classic. And it had a different business model at the time. We made a print magazine, but sent it to 40 countries through supplement distributors. So we did that. And so the idea was, if you bought a supplement at a retail store, you would get a shipment, a box of these magazines with that order. So this allowed us to get distribution for free in terms of the shipping weight, because we were already going on the orders with supplement products to gyms and retailers all over the world. So we were in 41 countries the very first issue. And then over time, we realized that, it wasn't viable. It wasn't commercially viable. So my partner at the time kind of got cold feet by about 5 or 6 months into the venture. Rightly so. I got fortunately the ability to inherit all of the IP if either one of us, that was the agreement we had, if either one of us wanted to part ways, then the other one would kind of get that. So it was good. It was good in some ways, but it was hard because my name was on the public side of it, and this was a silent owner, so silent partner. So I kind of was the one where, all the writers were waiting to get paid from, the photographers were waiting to get paid from. So if you take that over, you also have to pay the bills with all these people. So I kind of knew that my name would be mud if I didn't pay these people. Guys like Patrick Arnold and Dave Palumbo and Lane Norton, so many photographers, that I sort of said, well, I'm in it this far, so I definitely want to see this through. So what I did instead was I pivoted and I distributed through Canada. And I did that because I'm based there, and I knew every distributor, every retail store, every supplement company. And I worked with a distributor at the time, and we worked out a deal where they would distribute the magazine, and they happened to obviously want to advertise in it too. So that allowed them to showcase the product lines that they carried in the country. And I worked with some of the other supplement companies in Canada I was connected with, and we were able to continue to just build it small and steady. And it worked. I mean, we did that. We did 50 issues to date. We started off with it was quarterly, then we went bi-monthly, then we went back to quarterly as print started to go down, and we stopped doing print in just before the pandemic. So 2021 November would have been our last issue. That was our 50th issue, and it was good because when I was presenting the 2020 or 2000 and I guess it'd be 2020 media plan to advertisers, it was 100% digital, which I was already doing well with over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and Instagram was closing in close to 100,000, and Facebook was well over 300K. So we were doing it, Snapchat, Clubhouse, TikTok. We were one of the first in the fitness and bodybuilding industry to adopt those. And that's sort of been my media side. All this time that I've been doing that, I've been consulting for supplement companies. That's really what's been paying the bills along the way. And this has been a hobby project of continuing to cover the sport of bodybuilding and fitness throughout the world. It's been a lot of fun. Met a lot of cool people. Got a lot of access with media to, backstage passes and interviews, and I mean, free trips. We went to India twice for free. Went to Miami twice for free. Different places. Went to Malaysia for free. Free trips as long as we covered a show. So to be able to travel the world, my wife got involved. One of my best friends got involved, and we traveled the world together at these shows. Now, shared a hotel room and roughed it. But hey, at the same time, I can look back when I get into old age home and say, in a day era when print died, we continued to get stronger and stronger and stronger by the use of digital combined with print, and putting the advertiser first, and really getting news up quick and cost effectively. So you kind of have to wear many hats. So that's the Muscle Insider story. And it continues to do well in terms of what it is. It's 100% digital. And we have a select group of advertisers that we work with. We have a lean team. We do a lot of things ourselves. I'm not involved in the day-to-day stuff. I do some of the accounting and some of the pitches, but we have a team that does the editorial, from guys like Roger Lockridge and Dominic Morrow, and different people that we work with, freelancers. So it's been a real labor of love, but it just continues to evolve as the industry evolves.
And I mean, the photos have been really just outstanding, because it gives us, the viewers, kind of unreleased access to see those stage shots, those backstage shots, and it really just helps the sport of bodybuilding as well. And Scott, I need to ask the owner of the Underdog Talk to start sending me to other locations around the world. Unfortunately, I am the owner and the only person, so I'll have to ask myself. Obviously, this is a passion, but you're also one of the big guys in muscle tech, and you've been with muscle tech, golly, it seems like forever. So how did you get involved in muscle tech from the start of it all, Scott?
I looked at a bottle of hydroxycut. I turned the back of the bottle. I saw the phone number. And at the time, I was working for a company called Muscle Mag International, which was a Canadian bodybuilding magazine. It was part of a group called RK Publishing, which was the largest fitness publishing entity in Canada. They were based in Mississauga. So I actually, which is just outside of Toronto, I worked for them for 3 years, just in a retail location where the magazine was made upstairs, and downstairs was their flagship store right near the airport in Toronto. So I worked there, and there was a guy at the time named Paul Gardner who used to work there, who started Muscle Tech. And he and I knew each other just through me working in the same place he started off in retail. So I kind of was getting near the end of my degree in nutrition, and I thought, I got approached by a competitor to Muscle Tech to formulate products in my last year of school. And they basically gave me the Muscle Tech line and said, we want you to formulate something better than all this stuff. So being a student, I obviously had access to Medline and the different resources that a student would have, but I also had access to biochemistry professors. And this was a game changer, because I could go to, people who had PhDs in organic chemistry and show them some of the things that I was looking at, and then getting the sort of cheat sheet on, does this work? Does this not work? Or this is how you make this better. So it was a really fascinating opportunity at the time. I mean, I formulated EAA products back in '98, and just different things. The combination of ribose with creatine. No one had been looking at this. So some of the things there was very cutting edge. And I got hired out of school basically that spring when I graduated. I wrote my exam on a Friday, started work on a Monday, worked in Muscle Tech when there was only about 20 staff members, and we grew to well over 220 when I left. And we were the number one selling sports nutrition company in the world. And then we went through a lot of growth. Did like 15 commercials for Celtec, Nitrotec, Hydroxycut, wrote them, directed them, scouted the locations, like everything, editing with an editor. Formulated a lot of products that were really, really big sellers. Did a lot of marketing. One point, I was doing 600 pages of print a month that I was signing off on. Went to the head office of Men's Health. Went up the skyscraper and met with them, doing massive campaigns there. Cosmopolitan, so many 50 plus magazines we were advertising in. Did TV advertising, as I mentioned, and then after a while, it was just one of these things where, a startup had formed a few years earlier from a head of research that left for Muscle Tech. And he called me back up. We maintained relationships and offered me a chance of a lifetime to make a lot of money, going over to another team. And at first I felt really bad about it because I was loyal to my employer. I figured I would be a lifer. But at the opportunity when you're younger, you sort of just see the dollar signs and think, hey, you know what, maybe I should give this a try. So first thing got signing bonus. I paid off all my student debts on day one from that. And then a few days later, I bought a Porsche. So I was getting that chance that you all want when you're in your 20s. But, over time, I would realize that it was kind of a mistake looking back. But anyway, so years later, worked for over 50 brands, some of the top companies around the world in different categories. RTDs to bars to energy drinks to like any category you can think of. I've worked in, toured a lot of the top manufacturing facilities to see that aspect. Met with a lot of the regulatory affairs people to understand that aspect. So I kind of have wanted to be a well-rounded fighter a marketer by getting to know all aspects of the dietary supplement industry. So in the summer, this last summer, 2022. I got an opportunity to be a formulator at Iovate Health Sciences, which is the parent company behind Muscle Tech and Six Star and Hydroxycut and Purely Inspired. They have 4 supplement companies. And it was good because I kind of wanted to go full circle. Like roughly 18 years ago, I worked there, and to go back now to see how much bigger they were. And I wanted to see what processes did they follow with manufacturing products in so many different countries. They're in well over 125 countries. And how do you make a product for Japan? Or how do you make one specifically for the Australian market? And how do you get it through customs? And so it was next level. What kind of processes would they follow to do things the right way? I had worked for over 50 companies, and many of them doing things the wrong way. I mean, I had instances where manufacturer employee from the manufacturing plant said to me, there was an employee who dropped a bolt inside the protein powder that they found. There's screws that end up in these things. There's just some things that when you see, there was one client I had that said, what if the owner is switching a leucine, isoleucine, valine is in a BCA? What if they're adding more leucine or more valine than the label says, just to get the cost per kilo down, because the cost per kilo down would be lower? Then what if that's not matching the label? And what if they add glutamine and it's 99% glutamine and 1% of it is the other BCAs? So things like that, corrupt things that as a consultant, you're in a really difficult spot because you find out about some of this stuff and you're like, well, geez, what do I do? So after a long time of doing that, I kind of wanted to see what do we working for a top 5 in the world in terms of, a packaged goods company that wants to be doing the right way, which may not be the way that some of your readers, they may want the edgy products, which I loved using myself, but I kind of wanted to see what would it be like to work for a Glanbia or a Post Cereal or an Iovate, a tier 1 company that has more to lose by putting banned substances in a product than they do to gain. So I kind of wanted to get that refined product development training. So that's why I went there in the summer.
And I mean, it's almost like everything happens for a reason. I say that repeatedly on my podcast. Everything happens for a reason. I mean, it really did happen for a reason. Like you're leaving from Muscle Tech just to come back and bring new ideas and stuff. And I mean, it's fascinating to me. And now, Scott, I don't mean to embarrass you. And I thought I was a supplement nerd, but I mean, I reached out to Scott yesterday because I had a very critical question about Muscle Tech's new paraxanthine, where it's just changing kind of how pre-workouts are made, and I really wanted to know it. And Scott, I just want to give you the floor to talk about this new product that Muscle Tech has introduced, because I think it's changing the game, especially for people like me who have a hard time with kind of the side effects of caffeine. So, I mean, would you mind talking more about this, Scott?
I can't cover the science quite as well as the inventor, Sean Wells, or our head of research, Raza Bashir. Obviously, we can get another episode where they can break down the science for you. But really, for the audience out there, it's basically what caffeine converts to: theobromine, theophylline, and paraxanthine, these three things. Unfortunately, each of those have a different effect in the body. The theobromine is what is responsible for that really itchy, kind of dirty feeling you get. You still become alert, but it's not quite as much of the positive effect that you want to experience with caffeine. But you will see theobromine in a lot of fat burners, a lot of pre-workouts, but just taking it on its own, you do get alert, but you do have that crashy, shitty feeling after you come down off of a pre-workout or a fat burner. Theophylline is a drug. You can't sell it as a standalone supplement. And paraxanthine is the area of caffeine, and it converts to this, that kind of gives you that memory, that alertness, that mental focus, that clarity, the sharpness. That kind of high is what the paraxanthine will do for you. That just that ultra focus that you get. And interestingly, that there's genetic differences between the amount of each of those three metabolites that you will metabolize into versus what I will metabolize into. And you can have somebody who metabolizes caffeine into those metabolites really quickly, and you can have them that metabolize into it really slowly. So one of the things that you do find is you have a coffee drinker, some people who can actually just take a coffee before they go to bed and they're not awake, or they can take a pre-workout and say, I don't really feel anything from it, and I never really respond well to caffeine, in that they don't get much off of it. That could be, in the case of the evening consumption people, that could be something where genetically they convert into the other downstream metabolites really slowly. So they're actually not getting that reaction, that energy that you'd get typically in maybe a half an hour to 45 minutes on an empty stomach from typical converters. And then you have other people who convert really, really efficiently, really, really quick, and they love coffee. They love energy drinks. They get this sharpness and mental clarity. And I'm one of those people, obviously. So there's a genetic difference in that. And what these guys have done with a company called Ingenious Ingredients, Sean Wells is at the helm of that. And the three scientists there's two PhDs in organic chemistry from Germany that are on the team. And Sean Wells, he's a registered dietitian, but he's the guy behind Dynamine and Theocrine. And he brought BHB salts to the market, and a lot of other firsts. I think he was the first to bring beta-alanine to the market under Man Sports, I think. And there's been a few other things that he's done. He's got a book out, calls himself the Ingredientologist, but he's the keto guy. He's a biohacker. Really neat stuff. If you get a chance to look at his, go look him up. Sean Wells. He was a formulator for Dymatize for many, many years. Before Dymatize, when they were smaller, he was there to move them to that next level. So phenomenal with flavoring, phenomenal with the ingredients and inventing ingredients. He works for, he has his own company with Ingenious Ingredients, but he's also with NNB Nutrition, which is a company in China that's a manufacturer, chemical synthesis company. So when you are a supplement company and you want to have an ingredient in your products, typically what you do is you call your contract manufacturer up and say, hey, can you make me a pre-workout? They say, absolutely. These are the items we stock. You go through that list, you do a competitive analysis. And typically what happens is supplement company owners, just do a copy paste job of the leading pre-workouts. They put them in an Excel document sheet, and then they cross-reference. They say, okay, Total War has this, this, this. Ghost Legend has this, this, this. Redcon's Black Onyx has this, this, this. And then they'll go, through it and then say, okay, well, they have 200 milligrams, we'll go 200. They have 50, we'll go 50. And they just keep on just doing that, copying that. Then what happens? They say, okay, well, we have to have it a little bit better. So over here, we can see this ingredient here. Apollon has this, Muscle Tech has this, and it's just kind of a game really of just following the other guy, hoping that they have figured out this. The problem with that is you have different half-lives of those substances, and then you also have a different density of each of those substances. So you pick up a pre-workout powder and there's different densities, so they're going to sink at different levels. So you really have to think of shaking your pre-workout or shaking your creatine product or your protein powder before you consume it, because you want to have even density distribution of the active substances in there, because the different molecular weights will fall at different heights, especially in transit. As they shake, they kind of fall at different heights. The other thing that you have to watch for is there's interactions that happen from some ingredients. So something like Yohimbe will amplify the effects of caffeine in your body, but there's other things there that can kind of bring you down. So sometimes just putting more of a nootropic, you can override your CAMP levels in the brain by putting too much of certain things. So it's really just, how do you get the mixture to be giving a specific experience at a specific time? That's where a really good formulator will come in. The other thing that you have to consider with formulations is clumping. A lot of times, and you'll see this with really fully loaded, the new trend of pre-workouts is the massive scoop piece. And what the companies are doing is just one-upping, that they have 6 grams of citrulline, let's put 8. Well, somebody else will say, oh, let me put 10. And then someone else literally will go 20. So if you look at EchoVision, I think they went close to 80-gram serving. Caged has a massive 35-gram scoop. Gym X has a massive scoop. The trend of the big scoop pre-workouts are coming. And the problem is you have to watch, because a lot of times there'll be clumping that will happen. So if you put in betaine clumps up, beta-alanine helps clump, glycerol will clump. So there's different ingredients there. Creatine, by the way, actually helps prevent clumping, helps suck up some of the moisture. Coconut water powder also does that. MCT powder also does that. If you put too much glycerol in there, and you're seeing glycerol powder going into a lot more products, the more that you put in, the more likely it's going to clump. And you don't want malto in there, because the consumer doesn't want the carbohydrate on the dose, but that's a typical carrier that will help prevent it from clumping, which is the old Super Pump 250, NO Explode pre-workouts. They always had bigger scoops because those active carriers like maltodextrin help prevent it from clumping with the active ingredients. So the consumer wants no carbs, but wants high actives. But if you push it too far without knowing the chemistry of how those will work together, and will they be stable, that's when you can get into clumping problems, and then the whole thing turns to a brick, and then you have to do a total recall. So a good formulator will look at the formula, not just on what the label is going to say for the consumer, the price the retailer is going to pay, but also, will this thing clump or not? So anyways, there's more than a mouthful for you to answer your question, hopefully.
And I don't know what you were talking about, sir, not knowing the science part. I mean, I want to call you the genius now on the podcast, Scott, and not just throw one of those brands under the bus. We obviously had a few of those owners that you mentioned on the podcast, and I will have to kind of, agree with the big scoops. It was almost like it was too many ingredients for me. I was getting a little upset, stomach, and it was just like overpowering. So I think finding that median and getting, obviously, like Muscle Tech has an excellent developer to get those ingredients to the right amount. Now, speaking of Muscle Tech, you guys exploded this week, and obviously you guys started exploding since, the dawn of supplements, but really getting back into where Muscle Tech is, the name Muscle Tech, and obviously getting our guy Blessing on the team. So what is the future of Muscle Tech like? Where do you see it going, Scott?
It's an excellent question. A lot of people don't, I mean, have said, hey, you guys, you guys went into decline, in the last 3 years, and you guys sold out, and you guys did this and you did that. We went through a period with the pandemic where, the government in the US took control and sort of said what malls could be open, what ones
Yep.
couldn't be open, which really hurts a lot of retailers like GNC when they decided to just shut malls. I mean, that hurt a lot of companies like us. It hurt GNC and people like that. So when that happened, like our parent company, we have over 17,000 employees. And so for us, we have accountabilities. So if we are selling in the number of countries we're in, we have to keep supply on. And so at that time, we weren't sure what the future would lie ahead with retail with the pandemic. We did know that Walmarts would be allowed to stay open, Rite Aids, CVS's, Walgreens, stores like that, the drugstore chains, and obviously the Walmarts that were there. So we obviously Amazon, we pushed our dollars and our focus into those areas at the expense of the specialty channel and what the fitness people kind of see. We also had in 2020, I was at the Arnold's when they shut down the Arnold Expo. That was a big, big change. And then from then, you didn't see any other events. So now you can't sample. Well, you already had planned to sample. You have tons of sample packs. You have tons of products that you're planning to launch. That doesn't stop. You still had to do it. And then supplies really went dry coming out of China for everybody. So we had to pivot there. But fortunately for us, we had set up around that time to begin manufacturing abroad. So we manufacture in Europe for Europe, Australia for Australia, China for China, India, Japan, Korea. So by manufacturing these different places, we were able to continue to push, and supply those countries and those consumers because we've been around for 28 years now. So for us, the brand has been built for so many years in so many places that we kind of were able to withstand some of the pressures that happened within the pandemic. Obviously, the cost of goods went up as it did for everybody. But thankfully, our volumes that we were doing in the mass locations were able to keep us stable and gain us even more market share. Now, when we go back, though, in the future, we're filling in the gaps where we kind of, to support that mass market distribution that we had, you have to appeal to the mass market consumer. And that, for me, I think is good short term. But long term, it's not really true to the Muscle Tech brand and what it was from the era of the Greg Kovacs to the Jay Cutlers to the Phil Heaths and the Johnny Jacksons. And, at one time, when I was in charge of the marketing at Muscle Tech, we had 150 athletes under contract. And so top 5 in the Olympia, most times we had locked up most of them anyways. So it was really just going back to our roots.
Yep.
And the first thing I did coming on board, I took over the position in October 1st, was moved into that. First thing I did was said, okay, we need to sign Blessing, the boogeyman. I also wanted to sign Andrew Jack, but BSN beat me to that one. I also wanted to sign Nick Walker, but that didn't happen. And I kind of wanted to get somebody who had personality, could bring back bodybuilding with us, but in a humorous kind of way. And what I like about the boogeyman is it doesn't matter where he places. We knew at the time he wasn't going to win the Olympia that year. I mean, he's got some growing still to do, and he'll be the first to admit that. But he's the best entertainer on that stage. And we knew that he could poke fun at himself. Like, you have your plate of chicken and you have your rice, and you always make sure the chicken breast has at least 20 grams of protein. You don't just have carbs only at a meal. And that kind of consumer insight, we have all been there. We've all been in the convenience store and then see that we're on camera, and then we sort of look at our triceps and make sure we look good, or hit a pose and we don't sure if anyone's looking, and and that kind of thing. The boogeyman could kind of bring that out. And I was like, this is a way that we can add some personality, because Muscle Tech over the years, next to one group they had done work with called Buff Dudes, there's never been any humor with Muscle Tech. It's always been kind of like IBM. It's just been a very serious, like, like a Johnson and Johnson. It's all, it's clinically proven to do this, and they do this research at the University of Toronto, and they have a portion of every dollar you spend goes into funding research. And that's true. We funded more research on whey protein and creatine than almost any other company, more on creatine than any other supplement company in the world that I'm aware of. And over the years, that commitment has continued to do. We do at least one study a year now to this date on stuff. So we do that, but it's like we need to sort of bring some of the what is in the lab to the public, and Muscle Tech has traditionally been a behind the scenes company that hasn't been in the spotlight. And you look now, and the consumers now, they want to know, who's behind the Tesla, what's this guy doing, what's that guy doing. They kind of want to know it. And I think some of the trailblazers like Ghost, where they've sort of shown, here's our office in Chicago, here's our warehouse in Las Vegas, here's Dan Larenko at the pool.
Yep.
Here is our new drop with this. And then you see Aaron Singerman, here I am in the factory, going to the production run of these RTDs, or here's Mark Lobliner at the, production run for his machine whey. And that sort of transparency, you want to see that now. The consumer wants to see that. They want traceability of their ingredients. They want to know where their products are made. They want to know how they're made. So that kind of shift now, you can't be the silver building up on the hill that just, puts out product. You have to, they want to go behind the lab. They want to know the people and the process. So really bringing that, for me, being on the brand for 6.5 years at the start of my career, and then competing against Muscle Tech really for 18 more years after that, I was almost like the perfect person to help tell that story. And it's a really easy story to tell when you look at the amount of good things they've done over the years. They just, needed some help and some push to sort of help move us to the new age where we talk about these things. So that's been really, really good. So I put us on the map with getting my efforts to do that anyways, was, getting the Boogeyman to be, one of the premier faces of the company, and then being back at the Olympia. So we did a huge 20 by 20 foot booth sponsoring the Olympia, and getting back in the public, and having the handshakes, meeting with the distributors from around the world, showing them that we are back into the bodybuilding fitness industry. LA Fit Expo was January. Arnold Sports Festival was next. FIBO will be in Germany in April. Emerald Cup will be in April. And we're just partnering with the right people, signing different athletes we've just done. And that's really it's just going to continue and continue and continue on both the athlete side, the event side, some incredible new products there, working with great media sources. So it's definitely just full on, and getting people that I'm connected to. I know most of the people in the industry. So it's been allowing me to, plug and play any time a job opening has been in. Hey, I know a guy who handles Latin America for X number of years. Hey, let's have him interview here. And just, I'm all in. I play to win, and I want to be part of bringing Muscle Tech back to the cool side within the specialty channel, within the informed consumer of sports nutrition products. I don't expect it to be easy. I don't expect it to happen right away. But Muscle Tech in the sports nutrition area was the number one most powerful brand in the supplement industry at the time, which at the time sold for the highest valuation ever paid for a sports nutrition company at that time. So since then, we've expanded globally. We've expanded in more mass accounts. But we've got some work to do to close the gap now on direct to consumer, on Amazon, and in the specialty channel. And that's exactly why products like Burn IQ and Euphoric and some other ones coming out will be game changers within that specialty channel. So we're really excited about that.
And I won't be the first person to say it, but Muscle Tech is back. And I mean, Scott, I'm just giving you a round of applause. I don't think you could have selected a better athlete to represent. I mean, when we had Blessings on, I was awed by his personality, his humbleness, but also just bringing an aspect I had barely seen in bodybuilding, the comedy part. And he told me he just wants to make bodybuilding fun. And I mean, it's so relatable. I mean, he's the boogeyman, for Christ's sake, Scott.
That's right.
And he's something else. Beautiful face of the brand, Scott. Well done on that. Now, finally, Scott, you've seen it all. I mean, man, I thought you were 20 years old, but Scott, I think you're a little older than that. So, what is your biggest tip for success for someone who is just looking to enter the fitness industry slash supplement industry like you once were, sir?
Um, if you can make a living off your hobby, you'll never work a day in your life. And I learned that from Robert Kennedy, and I know he didn't invent the term, but if you really love fitness and you're really curious about supplements and you're taking them and you have that, you've been bit by the bug, you'll make a living off of that. What I would suggest is you don't go in it for the first part to, to be rich right away. You go into it to, because you want to be part of it. You want to make a small living in it. Building up your social media for standing for something. I mean, you've contacted me through Instagram, and my whole shtick is the B2B side of the supplement industry. So if I see something new, I point it out. If I see a copycat product, I point it out. If I see something in retail that's new, I point it out. So my niche is the other supplement company owners, the retail buyers, the distributors, the business people that are at the top of the food chain within the supplement industry is the group that I appeal to. And I know there's not a lot of those people, but they're the right people for me. So for that, I would suggest that they obviously embrace TikTok is the latest of everything now. You can find creative ways of not having to necessarily dance around, but actually leveraging that platform in a way that builds your brand. Don't expect it to come easy. Don't expect to get paid a lot, especially if you can just get some free product for repping some product or reviewing some product. And you can show companies what you can do for free. Imagine what you could do if you got paid is sort of it. But you got to show it, because what happens in the supplement industry is the brands look on these platforms for people to be brand ambassadors or to be employees. And they see these people and go, wow, there's a person. I wonder if we could teach them sales, or that person really seems to know their stuff. Maybe we can get them into formulations, or we need a good person that can just drum up excitement online. They seem to know how to podcast. They know how to do this. They're good in front of the camera. They go to expos. A lot of the recruiting that I've done over my career has been at expos. If somebody's going to pay their own money to go to the Arnold Classic and line up in that long of a line and be part of it, I know they're committed. And if they keep themselves in shape, then I know, and they take different products, then I don't have to motivate them to take products because they're already taking these on their own. So by having that, obviously academics are important. I'm not going to dismiss that. I mean, but you really have to know what is your plan. You have to have drive. Time management, obviously, I'm not going to sit and say isn't important. Of course, it is important. Spending as much time building, for athletes, they should spend as much time building their brand on social as they do building their bodies. Too often I see athletes, they live in the gym, they think that they're going to get their pro card, and all of a sudden then the phone's going to ring with sponsorships. Or they oftentimes will say, you know what, when I win my pro card, or if I win this pro show, I'm going to get someone to help me with my social. I consulted for Dorian Yates for a period of time, and he was doing his own social. He's like, I'm the only one getting the login for this. I got off a plane, I'm taking a selfie. If I'm going here, he's managing himself. You look at Chef Rush, he's doing it himself. Noel Diesel, bodybuilder from Rise, he does it all himself. He's an expert in social. He'll tell you this is what it works on Instagram. This is how it's changed. This is the time of day. This is the songs that are trending, but they're not trending over here in this platform. This is what works for TikTok. This is what works for Snapchat. Snapchat, you're even on Snapchat? Yep. Jay Cutler does his own. So you'd be surprised at the number of people who are bigger stars than people you would know in terms of the ones wanting to climb the hill. And the people at the top of those hills actually do a lot of their own social media. They may not do their own videos, of course, with videography, but they take interest in the platform. They sign up, they answer the questions, they post, they like, because they're learning. So I think social media is really key to making it into the fitness industry now. Going into supplement stores, anytime I go to the grocery store, I go to the supplement aisle. I just go there and I just take some screen grabs in my brain, and I see it and I turn it, I smell it, I look at the price. Then I go to the 7-Eleven. I purposely will gas up at a 7-Eleven so that I can go in and I can see what's in the RTD set. I could go across the street to another gas station, but I want to go there and force myself to get another little 2-minute flash course there. I go to GNCs and I don't tell them where I work or what I do, and I play dumb and I ask them what sells and why. And then I go to Vitamin Shop and do the same thing. And I go to Vitamin World, and it may not be as busy, but I walk in there and I ask and I look and I see Walmart. I'll constantly there, a CVS, a Walgreens. I'm constantly in those places, brushing up, brushing up, brushing up. And then when I talk to somebody in those areas of sales, I can talk intelligently with them and I learn even more from them. But it's forever on a quest of thirst for more and more knowledge. And that's what I do anyway.
I can just imagine you, Scott, going into Walmart, grabbing one of the Muscle Tech pre-workouts, and just taking a big fucking whiff of it. Excuse my French. I don't know why I thought that would be hilarious, but I think do it for the right reasons. Get involved in things for the right reason because money takes time. I mean, if you have passion for something, then is it really a job? And I think Scott, you nailed it. It's not. It's fun going to work, and I know for you, it's fun doing what you do and inspiring people. So, from the bottom of my heart, Scott, thank you so much. Now, before we go, sir, the floor is yours. Anything you want to promote? Where can we find your content? Where can we find Muscle Insider? This floor is yours, sir.
Muscleinsider.com is where we have a lot of the bodybuilding, fitness, training information, nutrition information, supplement reviews. So you can check that out. Obviously, in terms of Muscle Tech, the other life that I live, a very important life, is muscletech.com. So lots of exciting things that are going on there. But yeah, no, I mean it's all good. I mean yeah, I mean my own handle, Scott Welch Live. I mean I don't know. I mean I try not to really put that out there. It's there for the people in the industry, but yeah, this is it. So, but no, I appreciate you having me on here. I don't want to be here to, push one brand over the other. I will be the first to say that I'm also a consumer of competitors' products. I'm forever. I mean, okay, there's a C4. Great. This is the Starburst one. I bought the pudding from Core Nutritionals, the new flavor collaboration pudding that's there. I will use a bucked up Woke AF. I'll use everything because I want to smell it, taste it, experience it. I want to try the, Legendary Foods just launched a new chips. I want to get a bag of those, So it's just constantly being it. And Shane Smith at Stack 3D and I are the same way, is that we prefer to pay for it because I want to see what's shipped with it. I want to see how late is it? Does it get here on time? What else is packed in there? What kind of colored boxes do they use? Do they do the tape? Is the tape actually labeled tape with their brand? Is it not? Is it messy? I mean, a guy I learned from Luke Lazenby is one of the top affiliate marketing experts in the industry. He's the one who built the affiliate, the tier operator program for Redcon. He said, each box is like a present. You open a present at Christmas, you open it and you see a display. So your pick and pack should be merchandised for that consumer because this is a present for them. They put an order in for any product line, be it Muscle Tech or be it, anybody else. When they get this is important to that consumer and they open it up. That's the feeling that you get when you open a present is it merchandise or is it messy? Things are unsealed. There's powder all over the place. It's sticking together. So I really like to experience what the brand does so that I can compete against it. And in some cases, obviously, many cases, I can get inspired by it. So, I definitely salute a lot of the companies that are out there. They do a phenomenal job at what they do. I'm a big fan of Ghost. I'm a big fan of Cellucor, Dymatize, Optimum Nutrition, BSN, Mutant, Allmax, like Redcon One, Ghost, Rise. Like they're like all these companies. They're all doing things well. Otherwise, they wouldn't still be in business. And it just becomes what do you do differently for your brand and that consumer that you're going after. But if you're ignorant enough to think that you're the only one who could think of something that's good, then you're naive. And really, the good marketer can put their ego down, study the competition, and acknowledge when someone did a really great job, and hopefully get the kick in the pants to say, I want to do even better. But I think the best ideas come from memorizing all of the competitors and what everyone's doing, having that in your brain, and then saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do better than all those guys are doing, or bow out of it and say, you know what, I can't hang in the RTD space against those. So you just got to pick your fight and, but you've got to know the competition. You've got to know the consumer. And the third piece is you got to know the technology. And if you have those three pieces together, you can do really well in the sports nutrition industry.
And I mean, Scott, ending it, there is nothing like opening a box full of products, especially Muscle Tech products, and just the smell, the everything about it. I mean, it's like you're a boy going down on Christmas Eve or Christmas. It's a beautiful sight. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, please go check out Muscle Insider. Follow them on Instagram. I mean, it is changing the way bodybuilding is presented. I mean, wonderful, wonderful news outlet, obviously. Go check out Muscle Tech. I mean, check out Scott's Instagram as well, because I mean, you do post some good content. I mean, you and Arnold flexing. I mean, that had me, Scott. I mean, I couldn't tell who was bigger, but I mean, one more time, the one and only Scott Welch, from the bottom of my heart, sir. Thank you for taking your time. Until next time, guys. Underdog out.